My next guest is someone I've had the pleasure of meeting 10 years ago. Doug Lavin from UST Global. Doug, welcome.
Good to see you, Suresh.
Good.
Very glad to be here. So UST is all about commitment beyond contract. So we're very focused on 140 clients, very deep relationships, really understanding business problems. And we think that that's the essence of data virtualization, in the sense that, it's time to make the data do business work and not have business people go into data lakes and go into data environments and wrestle with things. So that's why we're really excited to be here, because we see Denodo as a huge capability for us to do some thinking about business problems and really solving business problems.
Absolutely.
For people.
Let me back up a little bit, Doug. I think you had the benefit of almost not being in the consulting business in one of the previous companies. You actually saw Denodo being utilized as an internal tool. Now at UST Global, you have a strategy role. So let me just kind of focus on that for a little bit. What is it that UST Global stands for today, and from your perspective in a strategy role, what are you trying to drive and take forward?
Great question. So we really think that UST stands for deep involvement with our customers and solving business problems and using great engineering, and we are firmly committed to this idea that data is the new oil, that data is really everywhere. And so one of the things that we're doing is investing heavily in data. We have almost 100 people who are Denodo experts who are trained in Denodo.
Can I make a quick shout out for one of those 100 people you
Sure.
mentioned? Arun Dixit has been a great champion
Sure.
for Denodo data virtualization within UST Global, and he's really helped educate a lot of people within your firm about the value that, and in some of the successes we've had together.
We have had a lot of great data leaders. We've done some great work. I know Prologis was here speaking.
Yes.
We've done a lot of work with Denodo and Prologis. We've done work with banks in Asia, banks in the US. So we are very committed. And what I was going with strategy was saying, so we're investing in data and we're investing in platforms.
Right.
And so what we have done is invest in a couple of our own platforms that work well with Denodo. So for example, Neuron, which you can read about in our virtual, I forgot what we call it.
Booth.
Our virtual booth, right?
Yeah, Neuron, yes.
Neuron and Cubes. So Cubes is a Hadoop extraction layer which can feed into Denodo. And Neuron is an automation and orchestration layer which kind of comes closer to the business. It allows business users. So let me give you an example of how we're doing it for a bank.
Yeah.
So we have
examples are always fun.
We have a bank in Asia that we use Denodo to. They had maybe 13 different sources of credit information, right?
Okay.
Of different kinds of databases, different sources. We use Denodo to pull all that together. But then there's a sort of a workflow question, which is, you're okay for credit, or maybe there's a question, or you're okay for the credit card but not the mortgage or something. So then we wanted to route this automatically to a manager to make a decision, or go back to someone else to get additional data or something. So we used Denodo to unify all the different databases, and then we use Neuron as an orchestration and workflow layer to automate that next process. Right?
Okay.
So
all right.
That's what I was trying to say.
I think it's very important what you said is that data doesn't exist to lie statically there. Yes, you need access to it, etc. But when you automate the action and the insights and what actually happens with that is when you get the value. And
right.
That's what sounds like Neuron is doing.
And it's the combination, right? So you've got a great virtualization tool. You've got great automation tools that have logic, business logic in, and they're set up so that non-technical users can fool around with the business logic just as you would with, say, Excel or something. But make decisions, and then all of a sudden you're automating processes. And it's also the virtue of Denodo is that you've got this great transparency with the process.
You can see the lineage, you can see where the data is coming from. It's not being stored, so there's nothing kind of hidden from you.
Right, and you don't have these cases. You mentioned Arun. We were talking about some cases where people who aren't using a tool like Denodo then just replicate data, and then guess what happens? Sometimes you have security breaches. I mean, if you start having hundreds of copies of data.
Yeah, we do. We have customers now who are using Denodo to for GDPR or the California privacy, etc.
California equivalent.
First of all, you need to know where your customer data is, and that provides you the first view or access. And then second of all, if you can reduce replication, you're not as vulnerable as you would be.
You were asking about strategy, and we think that this trend of democratization of coding, right, which is sort of another way of saying what Neuron is doing, but also what Denodo is doing to an extent of just changing the game so that the going from IT towards the business user, it's a huge, huge trend that we're investing in, and that fits back to our philosophy of investing in business problems and not necessarily in IT problems, and really understanding our.
So I think my takeaways are you work with a relatively speaking smaller but much deeper relationships with your clients, and you're not just about implementing technology; it's about solving the business problems and building platforms like Neuron, and in that process, finding how technologies like data virtualization can help, but also, of course, helping implement projects at your different customers is where people could benefit from your association. So tell me, Doug, in terms of your scope, UST Global, the name says it's global, but I also know you're headquartered in California, but you have presence. We work with you in the UK. You have presence in India. So what's kind of the scope? Because some of the people are always wondering, sometimes they're looking for boutique players, sometimes they're looking for global players. That would help them understand what you're doing.
So we are 25,000 people in 25 countries, big operations in the Philippines, Mexico, Malaysia, Singapore, London. So, we're fairly diversified. Actually, I know Denodo has a Spain heritage. We acquired a company in Spain about 5 years ago. So almost everything is going organically, but we did make that relatively significant Spain acquisition. So we're happy to serve our clients pretty much anywhere in the world. And we do some, integration or implementation of products like Denodo, but we do feel very much that deeper relationships with our clients, and the ability to actually solve problems, to listen to them, and to go beyond. We like to say commitment beyond contract. I mean, actually
commitment beyond contract. I like that.
Go beyond the,
extra
to
mile.
Actually figure out what is the problem that they're wrestling with. That's what we try to.
Well, thank you so much, Doug.
Thank you.
And I'd like everyone to go check out Neuron and other assets that you have online.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.